Okay, let's dive into one of the most influential and honestly most controversial figures in tech today, Sam Altman. He's the CEO of OpenAI, and yeah, he's the guy who basically put a super intelligent chatbot on all of our screens, pretty much changing the world overnight.
Is he a benevolent guide or a brilliant gatekeeper building a golden cage? This question right here, it gets to the absolute heart of this huge debate that's happening everywhere, in boardrooms, in governments, and all over the internet. And it really all centers on him.
So, to really understand why he's such a polarizing figure, we're going to explore two completely different stories about Sam Altman. We're pulling these directly from the arguments made by his biggest champions and his sharpest critics. On one side, you've got the visionary, and on the other, the monopolist.
First up, let's look at the AI Messiah narrative. This is the story of a brilliant strategist who is pushing all of humanity toward what could be a radically better future.
You know, long before this whole AI boom, Altman's career showed this pattern of just betting on huge, radical ideas. After he sold his first company, Looped, for over $43 million, he took over at Y Combinator, putting himself right at the center of the entire startup universe. But of course, his biggest bet was still to come. His stated goal has always been incredibly ambitious, to achieve AGI, or Artificial General Intelligence. And look, this isn't just about a smarter chatbot. We're talking about creating an intelligence that actually surpasses human capabilities, a project he thinks could take decades to finish. This quote really captures that optimistic vision his supporters always point to. They see AGI not as some kind of threat, but as the ultimate tool for solving humanity's biggest problems. Everything from curing diseases to reversing climate change. In this story, Altman is the ambitious evangelist we absolutely need to get there. But of course, that is only one side of the story. So let's flip the coin and look at the other narrative, the monopoly man argument. This perspective sees his actions not as a visionary, but as a really dangerous consolidation of power. You know, the name OpenAI itself has become a huge paradox. It was founded as a nonprofit to be a counterbalance to corporate AI, but it morphed into this capped profit company to fund its research, taking a massive $13 billion investment from Microsoft. And critics argue this basically turned a public benefit project into the AI arm of a tech giant, which creates this huge barrier for any competitors. And beyond the company structure, critics point to a pattern of behavior that they say prioritizes growth way over caution. His personal investment portfolio, we're talking over 400 companies, has raised conflict of interest concerns. His other project, WorldCoin, has been suspended or investigated in a bunch of countries over privacy fears. And these critiques aren't new. Allegations of deceptive and chaotic behavior were reportedly raised by his own team way back at his very first company, Looped. These concerns really came into sharp focus when top safety researchers started to resign. I mean, when OpenAI's own co-founder, Ilya Sutskever, and its safety lead, Jan Leik, leave with public warnings like this one, it raises some serious red flags for anyone who thinks the company is just moving too fast, without enough guardrails. So, this tension between the visionary and the monopolist, it came to a super dramatic head in November 2023, in this corporate showdown that played out for the entire world to see. The original nonprofit board, the very group designed to safeguard OpenAI's mission to benefit humanity, abruptly fired him. Just gone. In their justification, it was stunningly vague, but also deeply serious. It suggested this fundamental breakdown of trust between the CEO and the mission's guardians. Former board members later alleged he withheld key info, like his ownership of OpenAI's startup fund and even the launch of ChatGPT. But the response was immediate and just overwhelming. In a move nobody had ever seen before, nearly every single employee, we're talking over 700 out of 770, signed a letter threatening to quit and join Microsoft unless Altman was brought back. Even the chief scientist who helped fire him signed it. 5 days later, he was back as CEO, and the board that fired him almost entirely replaced with a new one, full of allies like Brett Taylor and Lawrence Summers. For critics, this wasn't some victory for the mission. It was a straight-up corporate coup that got rid of the board's oversight and cemented his personal power. So, after that whirlwind 5 days, we land right back where we started, facing the two faces of Sam Altman and these two competing visions for our future. So how do we square these two views?
Well, one side sees a leader making the tough calls, like, yeah, partnering with Microsoft, to fund the insanely expensive research needed to build a better future. The other side sees a pattern of risky behavior and a leader who is consolidating an immense amount of power. The real question might be whether these two faces are even in conflict, or if in today's world, the path of the visionary almost requires the actions of a monopolist.
So, AI Messiah, or Monopoly Man, his story is absolutely still being written, and the verdict is going to shape not just the future of technology, but the future for all of us. Which leaves us with a final question. Maybe it's not about what we call the person building our AI future, but about who gets to hold them accountable.